No, you don't tell your competitor good luck, and we are competing with the Oscars, okay, guys? I'm being serious.
Again, well, I mean, I was going to say something else to start out, but I do want to say, man, y'all saw the news, right? The big news? Paddington 2?
Greatest film of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People say we don't have clout. Wrong.
Every single time.
We are so culturally relevant, guys.
We push things into the zeitgeist. We push actors back into the zeitgeist. Look, you come to us for a reason. We have our ear to the pulse.
Don't pitch us anything, please. Or do. Honestly, send it. What's our email again?
toughcutpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, send us your pitch ideas.
Is also our social media handle. Follow us on the gram.
Hell yeah. The one thing I will say, I say we very loosely because I finally watched the Oscars.
Traitor!
And, I bring it up because I saw a tweet that it's like Glenn Close was twerking. And Glenn Close literally twerked to Da Butt, and that's a popular, everyone go look it up. Take a moment, look up Glenn Close twerking to Da Butt.
Hey, you're welcome.
So, I just hate how matter of fact you were about that.
Content, baby.
You're welcome, guys, for that. So that was improv, right? Wrong. Apparently that was set up, and I'm so fucking mad that Glenn Close and Lil Ray Howard would plan that shit. You gave me Glenn Close, fucking Cruella de Vil, twerking, and it was beautiful. She was like, I know Da Butt. And I'm like, yeah, you do, Glenn. And I was so attracted to her in that moment. And they just took it away from me.
Jake, you said that Glenn Close is Cruella de Vil. Isn't Emma Stone Cruella de Vil? #Newella.
We did it, boys. We brought it back into the zeitgeist.
Oh, no. Yeah, we were the ones who pitched the new Cruella. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
What I will say, Jake, before we started recording, you said that I probably would think that was fake or it didn't happen. But
what was that sound effect? What were you?
Okay. But I that one had hit my radar.
That
because
one
I wasn't willing
socials?
to watch. Yeah, I wasn't willing to watch the Oscars like Jake.
Hey, I had to do research about the enemy.
Yeah. Us versus the Academy.
The corporate sellout wouldn't sell out his morals in this case.
Yeah. Almost like Jake, who wants to work in entertainment, aspires to receive the largest award someone in that industry can. That's crazy.
The toughies. The toughie? The cutie?
We'll figure out a
what's
name
our
of it
award
by the
name?
end of this.
I kind of like the cuties.
The tough cuties? I don't know. I like it. I'm picking up.
Bad press with that Netflix documentary, though.
God. Oh, fuck.
Not because the documentary was bad. It appropriate. Well, we're not talking about cuties. That's not the purpose of this podcast.
I don't want to talk about cuties, man. We will talk about documentaries, though.
Oh, we should introduce ourselves. We skipped that whole part, huh?
Yeah. Well, hello and welcome. We're the Tough Gut Podcast. If you've gotten here by accident and listened this far, that's who we are. I'm Matthew.
I'm puppy lover Alex. I love dogs. That's my title this week.
Oh, that's a good title. I'm Jake, and I don't have a title. That's my title.
And this is episode 15, part 2 of our Oscar season bracket.
Oh, it's our quinceañera. Ba-ba, da-da, da-da, da-da. Anyway, good for our quinceañera.
Yeah, what does Oscar season mean?
What does it mean? Yeah, guys, we're in Oscar season. We're going through and we're doing our best picture picks because the Academy's fucking bullshit and I hate them even more than I usually do. We can get into that in my private socials. But yeah, we're going down for our picks where we thought, we want to see these movies win the coveted best picture. And we have some exciting ones in our second half of the bracket, guys. What do we got?
We do. We've got My Octopus Teacher going up against Sonic the Hedgehog, and we've got another round going up against Sound of Metal.
Who did pitch Sonic?
Who did pitch it? You'll find out soon. But of course, spoiler warning for all of these movies. We're going to be talking about them. So you better be ready to hear about them. Also got a content warning on another round and Sound of Metal for substance abuse and reference substance abuse. Just watch out for it. Should I start us off with My Octopus Teacher?
Go for it.
All right, guys, we got the Netflix documentary My Octopus Teacher, filmed in 2020, released in 2020, filmed in 2010.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, a long time in the making, directed by Pippa Ehrlich and James Reed. It follows Craig Foster as he swims in the same South African kelp forest for a year and befriends the cutest, cuddliest little octopus in the whole dang world.
You've said that about so many animals at this point. I'm jaded.
Well, because we had a whole animal bracket, but now we've got real animals. We've got real animals that are so cute and cuddly.
Yeah, two of them. We have Sonic and...
Yeah, we're rehashing our animal protagonist bracket. So, with the big surprise picker for Sonic the Hedgehog, or no, what'd you guys think about this movie? I'm getting ahead of myself.
Why do you pick this movie, Alex?
I got even more ahead of myself. I picked this documentary because I just thought it was fun. I feel like documentaries, at the Oscars, there's the whole best documentary award. And I feel like because of that, they never get considered for larger interest or nominations or anything like that. So yeah, I thought this was a fun one. I like animals.
Yeah. I mean, in a similar vein, the thing I wanted to say with my first fun fact, this is one that I haven't seen before and isn't problematic. So yay!
I've done it.
Or hopefully, probably, I don't know. Maybe in 10 years it'll be released that it was a snuff film. I really don't know anymore.
That he killed that octopus.
Oh, no. Well, I mean, actually, I do have some thoughts about it, but we'll get into it. I just really want to say that I love that a documentary was picked here. I mean, another great instance of film expanding beyond typical narrative, convention. There are absolutely some beautiful documentaries out there from past years that definitely could have contended at least for Best Picture throughout the years. Ones that come to mind, like Free Solo, and Inconvenient Truth, no matter how you stand about it, that's it's polarizing. Amy, 13th, I don't know. There are just some beautiful documentaries out there that I genuinely think should have been nominated for Best Picture, but they just don't because, I don't know, that's just not a thing. So shout out to Alex for picking a documentary. I'm excited to talk about it.
One of 4 movies I watched this year.
Out to talk about My Octopus Teacher, though, I also hadn't seen this movie, but I quite enjoyed it. It is such a dude diving in the ocean with a little, I think, what is it, a GoPro, a little hand camera, and it just looks so beautiful, so fantastic. Octopus becomes very friendly. They develop such a powerful relationship, and maybe he did learn a thing or two. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. And I very much agree with Jake on the perspective of documentaries shouldn't just be considered for documentaries. We shouldn't pigeonhole them in that way. They should be Best Picture contenders as well. And
they are for the award show that matters. This one.
Hell yeah.
And it's not going to be Cuties because Matthew made me think of that awful.
The documentary itself, not bad.
Yeah. Hey, who pitched Sonic?
Who did it?
We'll give you a hint, guys. Hop.
That's a reference to our very first bracket. So if you haven't listened to it, go do that now. Maybe not.
Fucking stop what you're doing.
Guys, it's time. It's time to reveal who pitched Sonic. James Marsden, come on out. What's up, James?
How are you doing? That's not how he sounds, right?
No, it's not.
Not in the slightest.
I hope you voted in our Twitter poll, because if you're wrong, that host has to leave the show. And we don't know the results until next week, so we'll find out later.
Oh God, it's gonna be me.
The truth comes out. I pitched Sonic.
Hell yeah.
No.
Wow. Sonic the Hedgehog, released in 2020, one of the last movies before the unleashing of the pandemic that has ravaged the world. The last film that all of us saw in theaters, I believe, directed by Jeff Fowler, Sonic the Hedgehog.
You do mean the film ravaged the world, right? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, it did. It caused some serious destruction.
Borat claimed that it started the pandemic, but I blame Sonic.
There's a line in there that tipped me off to the truth, but we'll get to it.
Oh no, I'm so scared.
Wow, I'm so scared.
Based on one of the most notoriously great and simultaneously terrible video game franchises of all time,
Yep.
Sonic the Hedgehog. The movie follows that speedy blue hedgehog as him and his newly anointed best friend, Tom, played by James Marsden himself.
Ow!
As they must battle the nefarious and remarkably well acted Dr. Robotnik and his plans for world domination. Wowee.
Dude.
Sonic the Hedgehog was in the Oscars bracket, and you have me to thank for it. Why did I pick this movie?
The same host, mind you, who brought you The Godfather Part 2, who brought you Paddington 2, has now brought his winner for the third bracket, Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think this movie truly is deceptively good. It had literally no business being a good film in any capacity. And I don't just mean good as in like, oh, it's so bland yet watchable. I mean like enjoyable to watch. It shouldn't have even been that. The dedication to the craft that the crew had in fixing this film for the fans of the Sonic franchise, who are sometimes notoriously awful people. Yeah.
When will you learn? When will you learn that your actions have consequences?
To pull off what this movie did is so incredible, is worthy of praise. And what's more than that, I believe the Oscars changed their contention rules just so they could justify putting other movies in. You eliminate the need to have a theatrical release. Oh, so you can put in all these movies that were straight to streaming? Okay, yeah, well, Sonic got released in theaters. Eat your heart out, movie industry. Sonic is in the Top Cut Oscars.
Just industry. Eat your heart out, industry.
Yeah, industrialization. Eat your heart out.
I fucking believe it, dude. Alex, what do you think of this movie?
I'm gonna be completely honest. I just Googled a picture of the before and after of the animation of Sonic. It is stunning how truly terrible he looked before they fixed it. It is an eldritch abomination. I really enjoy this movie. I think there are some incredibly funny moments. Jim Carrey goes absolutely balls to the walls and is so funny in this movie. It's absurd. Yeah, I had a great time.
In the spirit of this movie, 2020, this was the last movie I saw in theaters. Fully. And I am someone who I love going to the movies. It was like my beautiful thing. I was so excited for this movie to be good or bad. I didn't really care. If I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't give a shit. In celebration of this movie and what it meant to us, and also for another round, which will be coming up, I want to reveal a little drink and that I want to share with the audience. For those who are of the legal drinking age, for wherever you're listening, we made a drink during Mardi Gras. We lived in New Orleans, right, Matthew?
I'm a bit of a cocktail connoisseur.
For sure. Yeah. You should phrase yourself as that before this. Yes.
and this will blow your mind. So this was a brainchild of the group of people I lived with me at the helm as sort of the lead mixologist on this one. We created a drink that we simply called Sonic Speed.
There are listeners out there that I know have had it before and they're cringing. Like all their intestines just shriveled up inside.
The recipe is 1.5 liters of 190 proof grain alcohol, your diesel, your Everclear. That's 90% alcohol by volume. A gallon of Hawaiian Punch, blue Hawaiian Punch, Sonic, of course. For anyone out there who knows what Mad Dog is, an entire bottle of blue raspberry Mad Dog. For the uninformed, it is blue raspberry flavored wine.
Is it?
To call it wine is very generous.
Only in the Mogan David bottle. Shout out you, Mogan David.
It's technically wine. And then finally, Jake's addition. I don't know how much he put in, but a couple of bottles of 5 Hour Energy.
So here's the thing. One, those were a year old. Alex actually gave me those. Or not a year old, a couple months old.
Several months.
And you guys, we were making a Sonic drink, but there was no speed involved. So I needed us to have speed. So I had a bunch of those left over, and I kept dumping them periodically throughout the week.
That's cursed.
Wait, that drink sat for a week before people drank it?
No, we drank it over the course of a week.
Okay. Did you make it right before the party or a week before that party?
I'll never tell.
If I drank week-old Sonic Speed that had week-old, out in the open 5 Hour Energies.
No, it was in a drink container that had a sealed lid, Alex. Come on.
Yeah, we chilled it, right? Did we put ice?
We might have. I think we did at the beginning.
I remember it still being there post. Mardi Gras, and we're just oh god, someone drink it. Yeah, we still had some because I put some in my flask and I wouldn't carry it around because I was gotta go fast, and I would just drink it and run away from people.
God, imagine the blue ichor coming out of that flask, like the Lord of the Rings, the orcs feeding, putting the burning liquid.
Look, I have to live through the spirit of the 0.05 thing, but we'll get into that.
I think, did we have a little bit left? We did have some left because before Jake and I and another good friend of ours went to go see this movie, we took shots of Sonic Speed.
Yeah.
You said that you took shots of Sonic Speed before Sonic came out. Sonic came out Valentine's Day weekend, February 14th, 2020. Mardi Gras was 10 days later, February 25th. Sonic Speed was 11 days old when you fed it to my mouth. How dare you?
Alex, look, it had 1.5 liters of 190 proof alcohol in it. Nothing was alive in there.
It had 50 plus hours of energy added to it.
Jesus.
For those who want to revel, please drink responsibly, but also send us videos of you making Sonic Speed and drinking it. I want to see that.
Hell yeah. We don't condone mixing 5 Hour Energy with alcohol. Don't do that. You should exclude the 5 Hour Energy from all legal perspectives.
Yeah. Man, okay, so here's the thing. My Octopus Teacher is just artsy Sonic, right? Or is Sonic the artsy?
100%.
Aren't they the same movie? Aren't they a dude has a midlife crisis and befriends an unruly animal? Let's talk about that shit right now.
Yeah, 100%. I so think, okay, which movie, though, do you think has the better friendship? What's the better dynamic duo? Because I think My Octopus Teacher does a better job of setting up how unlikely friends they would be and then turning it into oh, this animal changed his life, you know?
I agree. I think the friendship, they give it the time to properly develop in My Octopus Teacher, whereas Sonic, it's a little bit rushed stalker. of befriending him. Yeah, I agree.
You guys don't like enemies to lovers. You don't like that trope in fan fictions.
But they weren't enemies. He was just a creepy stalker who also happens to be a little blue dude, you know?
Who they sort of pseudo adopt.
Yeah, he becomes their child.
In My Octopus Teacher, there was a lot of sensual energy too. So there was that added layer of tension. Not with Sonic, though. Sonic, I feel like Sonic is just he just fucks
asexual.
Anything. Or pan. I was going to say, it's either pan or asexual. And
pan or ace.
Pan or ace. Yeah, well, okay. So I bring up my central point because I felt like there was this tension, but also this I don't know, there was a push and pull with the octopus and the dude that was just, it felt like porn sometimes, right? Like, it felt invasive that I was watching it. I never felt that way with Sonic.
But also, Jake, I couldn't look away, you know? Like, how far is that octopus gonna go? That's what I wanted to see.
I do genuinely think it's a remarkably intimate movie, which is really fascinating. That it, by no means do they try to portray the relationship as romantic or explicitly like sensual, but it comes off that way just from the intimacy you feel between Craig and the octopus, which is really fascinating.
I think Craig is a surprisingly like good narrator. His like testimonials I thought were so well done. The way that he portrayed the way that he felt about the octopus in every moment. I thought it was so well done.
Yeah, no, this movie, genuinely, like, the credit that I want to give it is that this is, like, really proof that we really craft our own stories and perspectives, like, because this is completely this man just telling this story, and it feels so real, and perhaps it is, we'll never know, but, like, we don't know how octopi feel, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, there's something really beautiful about it. Like, I don't know, you could talk about, like, with religion, like, is religion just a well-crafted story and it just still feels beautiful to us? And, like, that's where the validity comes from? I don't know. It's, like, really, really beautiful.
That's a point I hadn't really thought about, that it is essentially projecting this anthropomorphized, like, receptiveness of the octopus onto it. Like, we actually have no idea. It is purely Craig's framing of the story and how he decides to narrate his own experience that makes it feel that way. I hadn't thought about that.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Jake, because I had that exact same thought as I was watching it, mostly because as I watched the movie today, my dog Bucky was curled up on my lap, literally asleep in my arms for the entire runtime of the documentary. And so, like, the entire time he's like asleep, cradled in my arms, and I'm just giving him slow pets and thinking, like, does this dog love me? You know? And I have to think that he does, which makes me think that I have to think that this octopus cared for Craig.
And by comparison, Sonic can talk. So we know Sonic loves James Marsden.
That's
true. We know Sonic loves James Marsden.
Wait, but that's so interesting, though. Like, but is that projected also? Like, is Sonic like, is that a projected, you know? Sonic is a child. Sonic doesn't know. Actually, how old is Sonic?
That's another question that I was going to ask. How long is the time jump between going through the ring?
Well, so he's clearly young, and then he's bigger, and he refers to himself as like as a kid.
Yeah, right.
As like the best. I don't know if he explicitly says kid, but like in the baseball scene. Which, if we're talking best baseball scenes in movies, Twilight and Sonic probably go head to head.
Oh my god, I literally was going to say the same shit. It's this and Twilight. Oh my god.
I think he does, doesn't he? He really refers to him.
He's a kid, at least a teenager.
He says he's the best, like, kid on the team, or he either, like, specifically says middle school or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was, like, fairly young. I'd like to believe he is. But, okay, like, if we're talking about projectional stuff, imagine being Craig. Imagine being Craig, the My Octopus Teacher guy, and being this guy's family, and seeing your dad, husband, brother, whatever, fuck off for years, and think, what? Like, you're saying I had this connection with this octopus, and like he's talking about his son, Ray. It's like, you didn't talk to your son for years.
I want to address that because I sort of got a little bit lost in watching My Octopus Teacher, and took fewer notes than I normally do. But one of the ones I took, a man who has a child is quoted in this movie saying, bonding with this creature was the greatest feeling he had experienced in his life.
Married, he has a kid.
Yeah, a man with a child, a man who got married, says the greatest feeling he's ever experienced was the bonding he felt with the octopus.
And then he has the nerve to bring his son into it in the end and be like, yeah, he cared about this too. Nuh-uh.
Son, I want you to meet my second family.
That's literally exactly what he did.
Look, wasn't the entire reason they moved to the Atlantic coast because he felt he was like having problems connecting with his own family? And he just goes and fucks off to the ocean for a year to hang out with an octopus?
James Marsden would never. James Marsden would never. He stepped up. He's not the stepfather. He's the father that stepped up.
Demonstrated to have a fantastic relationship with his wife in that movie. He took up 3 jobs.
Tough Cut Podcast loves good dads.
We do love good dads.
So he could put his wife through school and so they could afford rent and then just save a little on the side because he's a financially responsible man. Meanwhile, Craig, what were you doing?
How do you guys think Craig would have reacted if the octopus could talk like Sonic could? And he just like, he swims down, rolls up on the octopus, and the octopus just looks up at him like, meow.
The octopus would tell him to fuck off, I think. Like, this dude invaded this. He hired an underwater tracker. How hard must that be?
Or do you think that the only reason the octopus goes and gets with this bigger male octopus is because Craig wasn't willing to make the jump to making it romantic?
Craig couldn't make the leap. He couldn't commit.
Aww.
He couldn't commit to letting her die and having their children. No shame on you, Craig Foster. I don't actually believe you to be a bestiality.
Yeah, once that octopus died, things got serious.
Why do you think the camera didn't show more footage? Well, I guess the shark took it away.
That shark, okay, remember when like they were talking to me, like that shark got absolutely fucked. Like that shark get shit on, shark. And it was the funniest thing ever. The narrator was basically saying, get dunked on, shark. You bitch ass shark. Fuck off. And like, you know, which is the better boss battle? Eggman or Shark and Octopoppy? You know, like what's...
Eggman easy.
Easy. Jim Carrey's so fucking good.
I can't believe they made Sonic sarcastic enough that they could justify why he calls him Eggman. Because his droids are vaguely egg-shaped. So funny.
Speaking on villains in these films, the shark versus Eggman, or Dr. Robotnik Eggman, Jim Carrey, I know we referenced it very briefly, but I do want to take the half moment here before you say your next point. He does such a fantastic job, and they just it seems like let him off the leash to do whatever he wanted.
Yeah,
and he is
like
so
the
fun
shark,
in this
like
role.
the animals. Like he's literally a wild animal in this movie. It's so really fucking funny.
Whoa.
It's crazy. The dancing scene, when so many funny jokes that and just witty lines that I don't know if they were written or if that was him improvising. And I don't know that there's any way to tell.
Dude, okay. A negative about my Octopus Teacher, I'll say it, is this dude. I get how he said nature should take its course or whatever, but you're saying how you formed this like beautiful bond with this octopus or whatever, and you just filmed it getting fucking attacked senselessly, and then afterwards said, am I responsible for this? What happened to her? What happened to me? And like this sensitive man talking about like things, it felt like, not to get too deep about it, but it felt like white guilt. It felt like the people who posted black squares on Instagram. And I was just like, shut the fuck up, Craig. You recorded this person being attacked. And now what? Or this octopus. I
think some of it, though, is in the framing of the name of My Octopus Teacher. It is to... that is like the encapsulation of what he learned from the octopus at the very end, to sort of let it go and let nature take its course. And that is sort of this nature revitalization he takes away from it and founded a nonprofit, is from what he learned in this experience, that nature should take its course, to his credit.
I think that's fair, but I think, Jake, you're totally right. He also has this like bystander guilt. 100%, I think.
Like, shut up. I was so entranced by the film. I was like, oh, this is like really beautiful. It felt like watching a National Geographic. Also, Alex, did you ever watch Animal Planet, all this stuff? I never asked you. You really fuck with animals. This literally is in my notes. I was just like, you really fuck with animal movies.
I love Animal Planet, Our Earth, Planet Earth, all those things. Yeah. I used to have a projector in my bedroom, and we would play just like, to fall asleep, we would just like put Discovery Channel or Animal Planet or something up on the projector. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
I
That's
really
really nice.
see, I thought it was a great time until he got existential artsy like too much and like did the whole like, was this really me? Am I really the octopus? Actually, you just watched it like I don't know. It felt kind of like ugh at that point. But then I still find it was a pretty beautiful documentary by the end. But there's just hilarious things that you notice where it's like, yeah, I'm ready to vote.
Let's do it.
I'll take the front on this one.
Okay, Matthew. Okay, Big Dick.
Wow.
All right.
I'm decided. The world shall reform itself in my opinion and image because I'm voting for Sonic. That is my defiant move.
Wow.
It's the greatest. It shouldn't have even been watchable. And it was actually enjoyable. That's the bar, baby.
And we still haven't talked about that. And here's the thing. We'll have a chance to talk about it more because I also voted for Sonic.
And you know what? That's 3 unanimous votes for Sonic right here. This movie's moving on.
Isn't that the first one in Oscar season?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
The first unanimous Oscar season is Sonic the Hedgehog.
And that's how you really know we're the official award.
But go watch My Octopus Teacher. It was an enchanting experience.
Definitely. Go watch support documentaries and documentary filmmakers. But hey, let's get into the second half of this one. I'm really excited.
I am so glad that I didn't pitch one of these movies, so I can just sit back and truly feel neutral going into this conversation.
My blood is running because they're both so fantastic.
All right, guys. So I pitched Another Round by Thomas Vinterberg. It's a Scandinavian film that takes place in Denmark. It's dedicated to Vinterberg's late daughter. Another Round is about 4 teachers who consume alcohol on a daily basis to see how it affects their social and professional lives. This is such a fun movie, and I want to make it a formal announcement. If Another Round makes it to the finale, I will do it completely drunk out of my ass. I will. I did not clear this with my co-host, as you can tell. I fully will do the finale drunk out of my ass.
Well, because if Jake does it, then we both have to do it too.
3 levels of drunkenness exhibited in the film, that 0.05, the 0.10, and then the oblivion level of drunkenness. 1 for each. 1 for each,
and I will be the oblivion because I said it.
That's mostly a joke.
Yeah, mostly. But
God.
As we revealed from Sonic Speed, we're very easily peer pressured into drinking together.
Hey.
No, but genuinely, I will, and I think it's very fun. And it's a very beautiful movie. This was I was so excited about this film because it's one of the few international films that also got nominated for a major category. That like rarely happens. And it won, or it got nominated for Best Directing, and then it won the international Oscar, which is just so exciting because it is a very well-directed movie. I do think it should have been nominated for other things, honestly, like Mads Mikkelsen and all this stuff. But we can get into that later. What do you guys think of this movie?
This movie was so good. I am such a sucker for Mads Mikkelsen. I think he is just such a fun performer to watch. And he just does such an absolutely good job. I also, several times throughout the movie, when mostly in the scenes when they're like drunk, stumbling around, like just like having fun, you can see them because they're in the shot together, and they show you just what like an absolute unit of a man Mads Mikkelsen is. He is so tall and enormous.
Yeah, dude.
And so I just love to see it.
In doing a little bit of research and reading about it, I saw someone comment that they felt the movie was so unbelievable because Mads Mikkelsen was the lead, and they so easily could have found a more out of shape and less handsome 40, got someone to play like a 40 to 50-year-old drunkard. And I was like, that's amazing. I was so blown away by how good this movie was. I love reacting to film. I love obviously talking about it. I run a podcast about it. And as soon as I finished this one, it had like been on my radar, but I hadn't gotten to it. So I watched it for the show for the first time. And immediately after, I texted Jake just like, so by how blown away I had to gush about this movie.
Yeah.
It was so great on so many levels.
And man, am I excited for the American English remake with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Just watch fucking movies, dude. Watch international movies.
Yeah, no reason for them to remake this movie. It's so good. Watch the international version. It's so good.
Yeah.
Watch the version. Just watch the version of the movie, you know?
Watch the version of Another Round.
If an American one is made, ignore it. On the other side of this bracket, my last pitch, we have Sound of Metal. As Ruben, played by Riz Ahmed, a heavy metal drummer, begins to rapidly and aggressively lose his hearing, he has to come to grips with his newfound deafness as he pursues every avenue to return to his formal life and in attempts to rekindle his relationship with his estranged bandmate and girlfriend, and about so much more in terms of the luscious sound work that goes into even trying to make an attempt at emulating deafness, at emulating hearing aids, at emulating cochlear implants. It is a wild ride of a film that touches on some really heavy topics, so fantastically acted, such an intimate story. It was easily one of the best films I have seen in a long time, and even more so, easily one of the best films I saw in 2020. So it immediately had to go on my list for this. Obviously, I look like a little bit of a goon being the only one to nominate a movie that got nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
But it was that good to me that I had to put this in the bracket. I wanted to share this with you guys, as at time of picking the bracket, Jake hadn't seen the movie, but you watched it between those two periods.
I did, so I couldn't let you both have the win. I'm sorry.
Which I'll accept. I was excited picking one you hadn't seen, but I knew you were going to see it soon anyway.
I had planned
so
before
I
knew, because of the Oscars were coming up. I will say, I had thought about going into this bracket if I wanted to be angry that you nominated something in Best Picture, but honestly, unfortunately, the reality is this wasn't going to win Best Picture ever. This wasn't going to win pretty much any award except for sound design. If it has sound in the title and it's something like this, they're going to probably pick it because the Academy doesn't give a shit.
Which is a travesty.
So I'm glad that we're boosting it up more, that it should, I hope more people watch this. Hope more people realize how fucking amazing Riz Ahmed was. This is a fantastic film. I have nothing but positive things to say about it. I have some questions about it, but more like questions just in general because I want to talk about this film more. It's going to be an interesting matchup. But Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I also loved this movie. It just does such a good job of portraying the vastness of the deaf community, I think, in such an interesting way. And that's a community that I think is often overlooked. And this movie just does such a good job with it. And it's so well performed, well written, well directed. The sound design is incredible. Absolutely should watch it if you haven't.
What I do want to say, which I promise I won't go into an essay because I totally can, talking about Riz Ahmed's performance, mostly because I also think Mads Mikkelsen, as I said before, should have been nominated for Best Actor as well. Obviously, if people have watched the Oscars, even if you haven't, you probably know Anthony Hopkins won. They reorganized the Oscars to have Best Actor last. A lot of people felt and thought that Chadwick Boseman, that's the reason why they did it, to honor him and give him the posthumous. Yeah, I came into it really angry because I was like, oh, Chadwick should have won, really angry how they did it, how they've done it. And then I was like, Matthew actually texted me and he was like, oh, well, how would you have thought if Riz won or Steven or stuff like that instead of Anthony Hopkins? And it really put it in perspective for me. I think I would have been more okay with that, genuinely, because these actors, these underrepresented actors, Riz was the first Muslim American nominated, just nominated.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
His performance is fucking amazing. And,
really good.
I probably would have picked Minari in this category if it didn't already be nominated for Best Picture. These were beautiful, beautiful performances. And I think Riz and Mads Mikkelsen, I do want to highlight his performance because fucking wow.
Really good.
Super strong. And I think some of the strongest in our bracket in totality, besides James Marsden.
Yeah, I mean, friend of the show. He's going to be on soon. It's in the works, contractual thing he's filming.
Yeah. We're in
He's
talks.
in my room right now. He's just working on another project, so he doesn't want to give his talent. No, it's okay, James. James, you don't have to come on. It's okay.
What?
No.
What? You don't want me to come?
What is that?
That was me. I'm ashamed to say. I actually was trying to do an imitation of when you tried to do a James Marsden imitation earlier in the episode.
That's fantastic. But yeah, what do you guys think about these performances? Do you agree with me that Mads should have also been nominated? Like, how do you feel about his performance?
Yeah, I thought he was so good. I think his facial expressions for me really stood out in this movie. He has such an expressive face in such an interesting way. And I feel like it really stood out to me in this movie, the way that he was able to portray the sadness and the disconnect from his wife.
Yeah.
I think that I am a huge sucker for what in terms of quality of performance, what an actor does when they aren't speaking. Obviously,
these two highlight that so much.
Riz, for obvious reasons, he's in a movie about deafness, but Mads Mikkelsen, there are so many sort of quieter moments or reactive moments for both of these characters that really express the depth of their range in terms of like the strength of these performances. They're so fantastic. Yeah, it really, really incredible. I'd have to think a little more if I'd go as far to say I would have nominated or would have put Mads for a best actor, but definitely would have been on my short list.
So I wanted to highlight, I'm glad you brought up them, not like how much they reacted basically and like, you know, like really acted without saying words, because the two scenes that stood out to me the most, especially in comparison, were the dinner scenes for both of them.
Yeah.
The dinner scene with, you know, Riz, where like he is slowly starting to come to realize in the beginning, like, oh shit, I can't fucking like hear. And that like rawness of that. And then with Mads, that dinner scene where he's like, you know, before he starts drinking finally.
The very first like dinner, the birthday dinner.
The birthday dinner, yeah. And it's like you know he's gonna drink, right? You know, like you're in another round, like you know, but that buildup is so like it's almost too long. Like it's almost like it's for the whole ride, and then it keeps going.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that happens again and again in another round. Is Mads's character, Martin.
Mm-hmm.
He will be like interacting or, you know, around by himself. And there will be these quiet moments of him reacting to things as the allure of alcohol is just like pushed on him repeatedly. The one that sticks with me is when his friends have decided they want to drink to the point of oblivion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're all making, what are they, Manhattans? Or Sazeracs.
No, they made Sazeracs.
They're making Sazeracs.
It's blowing my mind because of New Orleans and our parallels, but we'll talk about that after. Continue.
We should make a redub of this movie where instead of Sazeracs, it's Sonic Speed.
Thank you. And they're basically, the shots are cutting between Mads, who's silently observing, and his friend, as Nicolaj is explaining to his friends how the Sazeracs are made and what goes into them. And you can watch as the cocktail is being crafted. And it's like you can see in real time as Mads's character begins to fold and like moisten his lips and get himself ready to drink. The way that his addiction, his alcoholism is portrayed just feels so real and so eerie that it's like uncomfortable for me to watch.
That scene kills me because it's so tragic because he's so close to getting out of there, that scene, you know, and like that's the tipping point. That scene killed me.
Another thing that I want to highlight is the relationships, because like with Lou in Sound of Metal, when Lou sings with her father and how like alienated, like we feel just as alongside with Ruben, she's all cleaned up. It's a whole different genre. I don't know. There was a lack of change going on, and she found calm without him. She found the silence that he was forced to have, like without him. And then for another round, it's like a similar, like it's a more maybe positive, vaguely positive ending with their relationship. How they found their like silences. It's hard to articulate.
I think silence might be the wrong, because it's very literal, obviously, in Sound of Metal in that sense. I think it's almost purpose might be sort of what you're trying to get at, because I see both of these films as being heavily ingrained in about being about purpose.
Yeah.
Another round from the perspective of Martin Mads' character believes alcohol to become his purpose, to become what is making him a better person, rather than sort of searching elsewhere and sort of examining what that actually means, what purpose means, what is his purpose of his relationship with his wife, etc. Whereas, so it's sort of this rediscovery of the same purpose within himself. That's why he, they talk about him being a dancer throughout the film, and then finally he dances at the end. Comparatively, in Sound of Metal is about rediscovery, but of a new purpose. Ruben has to come to terms with who his new self is. It's why he, I think, makes the decision to pull off the cochlear implants at the end and just embrace the silence, and sort of getting at the silence of Lou. She discovers purpose. It is in that time away, not necessarily by nature of being separated, but by being pushed to be independent, that she sort of has to rediscover herself as well.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. But also, did you know Mads Mikkelsen did ballet when he was younger?
Yes, he was a dancer. That was the start of his career, wasn't it?
When you were talking about him being a unit, you're like, whoa. And then them being like, he can't do those things. He motherfucker can do those. He was doing parkour at the end of that shit.
Speaking of the endings of these movies, I think they both are very, I think, purposefully bittersweet, I think.
Yeah.
Right. Because you touched on it, Matt, but in Sound of Metal, you have he and Lou kind of realize that this separation has pulled them apart in such a serious way. And even though they still need each other, they have to, I think it's very vague in the sense of they have to reassess what their relationship is and what they mean to each other, is the way that I took it.
Just want to interject. Do you see it as them still needing each other?
I don't think they need each other. I think they did at one point
reassessing the need of each other.
They need to reassess their need and what their relationship is and what it means to them. Because it didn't seem like it was a full breakup, she said that he saved her too. And then it's kind of vague what happens, right?
Yeah.
But then in another round, his wife kind of texts him that she misses him too, needs him too. But then he goes on another drinking bend. Right. And the drinking bend is where he gets free, so there's this bittersweet, his relationship.
Does he go back to her? Does he,
yeah, it's really well done.
This is one of the things I most wanted to talk about these two films. I will try to keep this from becoming an essay from me, because I think the endings of both of these films are so critical to the messages they want to convey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I touched on it a little bit in talking about purpose, and Alex expanded upon that, because I do think there is this definitively show that they sort of need to reassess it, as Ruben is talking about returning to touring together. You can see Lou going for and scratching at her arm.
Mm-hmm.
Very clearly meant to be sort of related to relapsing on her addictions.
Yeah.
So the audience is clued into what the time away has really started to do for these two people. Not to say that, when they were together, they were using the whole time. Just at one point previous in their relationship, I think due to stresses and other things, I believe heroin is what's implied or explicitly mentioned.
Yeah, no, it's explicit.
So there's that sort of they needed each other at one point in their lives, but their time away has sort of forced them to have to reevaluate.
Yeah.
However, in another round, I don't know if it's certainly bittersweet, but I don't know if it's a bittersweet in the same way of he gives in to drinking. I'm not sure that's what's happening. One of the biggest things I take in relationship to that is every other time they drink, pretty much, they're always there trying to encourage and push Mads to dance. They keep his friends will dance. They're being dumb and drunk, and they're trying to get him to do that. There is something different about the last time that it happens in the movie, because Mads finally dances. So
can I interject right there and to bring it as a comparison? I think the reason is because he was present. They talk about him being present. The wife was like, you're not present anymore. And finally he drank, but he was present enough to dance and feel like his old self. And similarly with Riz, in Sound of Metal at the end, he was more present deciding his, fate at that, taking the implants out. That was him present. And these both end on you feel them both finally be present, but in such a different realization, almost I think more similar than different. it's about being present. And I think that's why it's so powerful. And it's almost bittersweet because how often do we get to feel present and be conscious of it? And it's both those really intense emotional reactions to that.
So much to the credit of that exact concept, Jake. That is what I hugely think is happening at the end of Another Round. I think it's this realization that there is a place for sobriety, there's a place for moderation, and there is a place for excess. So the movie on a high level obviously is a commentary on Danish drinking culture. It is simultaneously a celebration of it and a condemnation of it. And I think it's trying to push to re-examine what those mean, because the last piece I want to say on that, the sort of search for that, I don't know if it's the filmmaker's intent. Feel free to cut this. I genuinely think that there is a connection to Aristotelian ethics. I'm being serious. Of Aristotle's ethics. Because one of the things that Aristotle talks about in Nicomachean Ethics is that the life best lived is one in which we are sort of present and engaged in experience, that we cannot simply learn studying the ancient philosophers. We have to engage and partake in life. There is a point in order to live well, to properly appreciate it, you need to engage in pleasure. You need to engage in the pursuit of different virtues, those being moderation, and simultaneously give in at times. Like, these are necessary in the pursuit of a life well lived. And I think that is so much of what Another Round is about. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
Thinking about that.
That's very interesting. Aristotle also said that the reason men are more aggressive than women is because they have more teeth. Lots of things to think about.
I have to bring up one more thing, and then I think we should vote, even though this is very difficult. And it's more of a question. I don't know if any of you guys looked it up. I'm just genuinely curious. I was a bit worried when I first heard Sound of Metal coming up and whatever it was, because as someone who's able-bodied and all that, I didn't know how respectful it was, or how okay people reacted to Riz, because is Riz Ahmed is no kind of he is able-bodied as well, right?
He is not deaf.
Yeah. Well, any kind of yeah. So that happens a lot in Hollywood, and that's something that is unfortunate. Of course, they had actual deaf people in the film or other disabled people in the film, but did the reactions, because I thought it was very beautifully handled, respectful, and all that. And it's a hard story to do with someone I don't know how you guys feel about it, or if you know anything about how that played out. Because I do think Riz acted phenomenally and all that stuff, but it's another one of those things where it's yes, Eddie Redmayne did amazing as, the Danish girl, but is not actually transgender, So that's just something that I think is interesting and worth taking note of. I didn't look it up as much as I probably should have, but I did want to bring it up in case you guys had.
I did not do a huge ton of research, but I did a little bit of reading in some of the online deaf community. Generally, perception of the film is pretty positive to what I came across and what I read, which has to do with just sort of the kind of exposure perspective of these are a minority population and not a lot of people are necessarily exposed to. But a common point that some people brought up is that there were some people felt that it was maybe trying to tackle too wide a net of trying to picture such a large section of what it means to be deaf in the deaf community, which is a very hard thing to comment on without talking to more people and knowing more about that perspective. Because I think educationally, it was super valuable to me to obviously I understand that there are children that grow up deaf and they have to having these role models as Ruben plays to a handful of deaf children is super, super valuable. Obviously, there are schools for the hearing impaired and there are, deaf communities. But getting insight into what that might look like is what I think was valuable. It's a really good point that I don't know if I had properly put thought into when I picked this movie.
Yeah, it was just something that intrigued me because both of these had kind of negative-ish that I saw. One, people had a reading that Another Round was celebrating alcoholism, and then in Sound of Metal is you have an able-bodied actor, and where's the line between education and representation? You were kind of alluding to, and I just think those are both interesting things to compare about these two films and stuff that is very similar with how these films were shown and how people react to them.
I think we should vote. but I have no idea what I'm going to vote for.
I could talk about these two movies for so long.
I could talk about these. These are genuinely fantastic. This easily could have been a finale. These two
For
going
sure,
up.
for sure.
Wow. I really encourage. I know I've said this almost every single. I guess I didn't say it for the Sonic vs. My Octopus, but genuinely, please go watch Sound of Metal. Genuinely, please go watch Another Round. Whoever makes it, please watch these movies. If anything, for this silly Oscar season bracket, watch these movies.
I want to echo that. I'm just repeating Jake at this point. But man, these are two super fantastic movies. I know, Sound of Metal, one of these sort of, I guess, less familiar of the Best Picture picks, go watch it. But Another Round, I know for some people, being a foreign film in a foreign language, so having to deal with subtitles, some people don't really like. But please watch both of these films.
There's no reason for you guys not to watch these movies. They're all so easy to watch. Every single movie that's in our bracket is either on Netflix, Hulu, or Amazon Prime Video. There is no reason not to watch these movies.
They're really, really, really great films.
I know what you guys are thinking. You guys are like crossing your fingers, your toes, or whatever. You want another round to get in it because you want to see me fucked, hopefully, for a finale. If it makes it past the semis, we really don't know. But you guys want to see me absolutely fucking obliterated because I will keep true to my promise. That's just for the listeners, for a tease.
Maybe if Jake is so drunk and easily convinced, we'll live stream the whole thing.
Oh, God, I probably would be.
That'd be really funny.
I'll go first. I'll do it. I will vote for Another Round. Skull. There we go. Hell yeah. Skull for Jake. Skull.
I am also voting for Another Round.
And despite pitching it, only one movie in this bracket. Let me talk about Nicomachean ethics. Let me talk about Aristotelian philosophy. And that's Another Round. It's moving on, baby.
Ooh, is that another unit? Wow, this is a stacked side of this bracket.
Yeah, we go from what could have been a final of Sound of Metal versus Another Round into what could have been a final with Sonic versus Another Round.
There are such fun things to compare about these movies. That's like really awesome, actually, that I already thought of.
We have been talking about alcohol and James Marsden since our first bracket. It was destined to be.
Wow, and only one can move on to the finale. How sad.
Yeah, heartbreaking. Unless Ghost Rider comes in from the top rope, enters the bracket.
Oh my God. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Follow us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, at Tough Cut Pod. Like, comment on us. Were you surprised that Matthew pitched Sonic? Were you even more surprised it moved on? You shouldn't be if you know
us. And if you make Sonic Speed, tweet us a picture if you're of legal drinking age.
Please make Sonic Speed if you
send us.
And drink responsibly, please.
We'll give you a shout out if you make Sonic Speed. Even if it's just Blue Hawaiian Punch and we can't even tell, still give you a shout out.
I may remake Sonic Speed and drink it for the... Again, if it makes it to the finale.
If Sonic gets into the finals, you'll drink Sonic Speed the whole time. If Another Round makes it to the finals, you'll just be drunk.
I'll also drink Sonic Speed the whole time.
Follow us on all your favorite podcatchers. We release episodes weekly. Catch us every Monday. Tell somebody about the show if you liked it. And if you didn't like it, you have to tell 2 people.
Well, no, don't tell more people that you didn't like the show. Make your pets listen to our podcast.
Make your pets. Ignore your son. Talk to your pets.
Ignore your children. Embrace the octopus.
Wait, doesn't Another Round also ignore children? There's a lot of stuff to go on, man.
Oh, there's so much more to talk about.
Bye, y'all.
Don't forget to subscribe.